Hey folks, I'm John Laspina, the Carnivore Teacher. I'm not going to talk about food today. I'm going to talk about an acronym about a food that we don't eat anyway called R.I.C.E. R-I-C-E. Have you heard of this before? R.I.C.E. is what's recommended to us by the professionals if you sprained your ankle or scraped your knee or dinged your elbow or caused a problem. You are encouraged to R.I.C.E. it. R.I.C.E. is an acronym for rest, ice, compression, and elevation. And I've been doing this all my life. It's ingrained in our brains to run and go get ice, right? Whenever there's something we did that we're swelling, it hurts, get some ice, get some ice. Lift it up above your heart, or elevate it, elevate it, elevate it. Oh, wrap something around it, compress it, push a lot of pressure on it. It's good for it. Don't use it. Don't walk on it for a long time. We've been told to R.I.C.E. our injuries for the longest time, and I don't know why. Because in this video, I'm going to tell you not to do any of that stuff with a little common sense. And now listen to me to the end. If you disagree with me, type it in the comments and we'll have a discussion. But listen to my reasons why I think we should not rest, ice, compress, and elevate a wound, a swollen ankle. So first thing we do is you sprained your ankle. I once was walking and I thought I was on the curb, but I was actually on the street. And so my foot went like this and I could feel it. I was like, I knew I did something really bad to my ankle and it hurt. But I got right back on it and I walked home. And as I walked home, the thing started to really swell up. What I did was I tore my tendon, and my body sensed that and started sending corrective measures to heal the area right away, which is swelling. Inflammation is appropriate when you have damage. You want appropriate inflammation. Omega-6s come into play when we have appropriate inflammation. Ding, 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 fire, fire, fire. We have an alarm. We have a problem. We need to go fix the problem. Let's swell that area up. So swelling is natural. Your body is sending fluids to the area to encase the area around fluid. You know how you get a lot of water in the area? It swells up. And then if you touch it, it's really hot. That's because the body's trying to heal that area. Don't put ice on it. Let it get hot. The body is healing itself. If you put ice on a swollen, torn, ripped, whatever, it may feel better, but it's going to take much longer to heal because you're slowing the healing process down. Your body is heating up in that area for a reason. It's throbbing and you feel your heartbeat there for a reason. Your body is sending tons of white blood cells and your blood is rushing to the area to heal it. Don't slow that down by wrapping a bandage around it real tight and compressing the area. You want the blood to get into that area. Don't put ice on that area to slow it down. Let the area heat up naturally. And they talk about elevation. If you elevate it above your heart, it's going to feel a little better. You won't feel the throbbing, but you're slowing the healing down. Let the blood flow naturally to that area. Yes, it's going to hurt. You know what? Take an aspirin. Take a Tylenol if you have to. I'd rather you endure the pain, but if the pain gets really intolerable, you can take an over-the-counter pain medicine. But don't slow the healing down just because of a temporary, I don't want to feel the pain this minute. Let the body heal you. The first one is rest. Now, you don't want to walk on it a lot. When you walk on something, you walk on your ankle and it hurts really bad, that's your body sending your brain the signal that there was damage and to be careful. That's a signal to be careful. So you can walk on it, but very gently. But if you never walk on it, and you use crutches and you just lift it up and you just for weeks and weeks and weeks don't put pressure on it at all, your muscle's going to start to atrophy and you're not using it. When you don't use something, you send a signal to your body that it's not important anymore and it starts to shrink. So use it gently, not like you normally would, but don't not use it. Rest is not appropriate. Just be gentle, but don't not use it at all. Rest, ice, compression, elevation, throw it out. You want that wound to heal. If you had a swollen ankle on the right and a swollen ankle on the left, God forbid you can't walk, right? If you didn't walk on it, iced it, compressed it, and elevated one of them, and just left the other one alone to let your body and nature take care of you, which one do you think is going to heal faster? The one that you didn't touch, the one that you walked on a little bit, the one that you didn't ice and didn't compress and didn't elevate, is going to heal faster. Now, in the meantime, it may hurt a little bit more because you're not putting ice on it, and you're not elevating it, you're not compressing it. But it's not about the immediate, I want to take away the pain by doing these things. It's about how can we heal faster and more efficiently, the way our bodies were meant to heal. Now, before I leave you today, think about a duck. Hi, Rick. We have a duck. We have a bunch of ducks in our neighborhood here. And I saw a family of Egyptian geese. I don't know if they're considered a duck, a goose. And this one, it was like a family of 6, and the father and the mother, and they're quacking as they walk across the street. And this one duck had a twisted, almost broken off little foot. And its little head was shrunk down. And he was trying to keep up with his little brothers and sisters and his mother and father. And I felt so bad. And I thought, look at him keeping up, though. He's keeping up. He's using it. Right? I've watched this duck for weeks now. This duck is as big as his brothers and sisters. This duck, I don't think it's healed because it was all twisted and broken and now it's like permanent, but he used it. Animals in the wild don't rest because if they do, they starve. We're lucky we are modern and we can call for food and have people buy food for us, and we can use crutches and stuff. Animals in the wild, if they rest, they die. Animals in the wild don't have access to ice their wound. Animals in the wild don't have a compression. Animals in the wild don't elevate their wound. We should not be either. And we will heal faster. Yeah, it hurts. It stinks when it hurts. But allow your body to heal itself through the inflammation, which is natural. Now, if you see that it gets super hot and maybe you have a wound and a lot of pus is coming out, that means that the pus is white blood cells, but infection is coming out. Go see your doctor. Go see your doctor anyway to see if, there's anything that was, any damage that was done and you need to get it taken care of. But for a general wound, general inflammation, you want it to swell, you want it to get hot, you want it to throb a little bit. That's the heart sending all the blood vessels there, and you'll heal faster. So that's my discussion about R.I.C.E. It's mostly BS. Maybe there's a place for it in certain instances, but I don't do it anymore because I now have the knowledge. Click the thumbs up and share this video if you like this content. If you disagree with me, obviously you're not going to do that, and maybe you'll leave a negative comment, but that's what I believe. So hopefully I made you think. That's the point. Are you thinking differently about the reasons our body does these things to heal us? Have a great day, everybody.